One of the highlights of Acts chapter 27 is when Paul shines brightly in the midst of a disastrous storm at sea. Here's what Paul says in Acts chapter 27, verses 22 to 26 to those who are on the ship. "And now I urge you to take heart, for there will be no loss of life among you, but only of the ship. For there stood by me this night an angel of the God whom I belong and whom I serve, saying, 'Do not be afraid, Paul. You must be brought before Caesar. And indeed God has granted you all those who sail with you. Therefore take heart, men, for I believe that it will be just as it was told me. However, we must run aground on a certain island.'" Here are 3 qualities of Paul that we see in this passage. Quality number 1, Paul believes God. An angel from God speaks to Paul and says, "Don't be afraid. You must come before Caesar, and God will protect all who are on the ship." Paul believes God's words of encouragement given through the angel. His faith is strong. Quality number 2, Paul is unafraid. Paul is told by the angel to not be afraid, and indeed he fearlessly addresses all of the men on the ship and urges them to take heart and assures them that God is protecting them. Paul is fearless. And then quality number 3, Paul values people more than things and agendas. Paul declares that no lives will be lost, only the ship. He also states that they must run aground on a certain island. It's clear that the loss of the ship and the delay in their schedule pale in importance to the lives of the men on the ship. Paul has his priorities right. People are more important than things, and people are more important than agendas. In reflection, as we consider Paul's belief in God, are you and I believing the things that God says to us in His Word? Are we believing His promises? And are we trusting in His character? As we consider Paul's fearlessness, are you and I walking in faith as opposed to fear? Are we urging others to take heart? And lastly, as we consider Paul's value of people over things and agendas, are you and I, like Paul, caring more about people than ships in our lives? And are we putting people above schedules and agendas? May God strengthen our faith so that we can be more like Paul. Thanks for listening.